Well, hello, class, and welcome to LDRS 520, Understanding Vocation in a Changing World, offered as part of the Master of Arts in Leadership program, of course, at Azusa Pacific University. My name is Jeff Boyan, and I will be your university course instructor for the next 8 weeks as we journey through this class together. A little bit about me: I am passionate about the topic of vocation. I have been researching and studying and uh, participating and everything you could think of as related to vocation and calling and career development for the past, I don't know, 8, 9 years, it seems like. So um, I do a lot of stuff here at the university. I'm full time in the Department of Leadership and Organizational Psychology, where I've been for almost 6 years now. I've been at the institution for, in fact, this month of January 2017, I celebrate the tail end of my 11th full year here at the university. So that's exciting. In addition to teaching adjunct, really, in the Master of Arts in Leadership program, I'm I guess, a lecturer in the Master of Arts in Science or Master of Science in Organizational Psychology program in the same department. I also am the program director for the undergraduate leadership minor program that we offer to our undergraduate students. I'm an assistant professor full-time in that program. I do all sorts of things, kind of other duties as assigned by supervisor in our graduate and undergraduate programs in leadership. I teach additionally in graduate psychology. I teach the career development theories and techniques course for them. In fact, tomorrow, or really Tuesday, I guess would be, I'm starting to teach an undergraduate class in career and life planning. So this semester alone, the spring semester of 2017, I will be teaching 3 courses, all with a bit of a different flavor as it relates to career, calling, vocation, and so forth. One undergrad leadership, one graduate leadership, and then one graduate psychology. So super excited about all that. Really involved in our church, where I actually teach classes, and I teach classes on multiplication and worldview and how that all relates to really the role that faith plays when it comes to fully embodying and living out our faith in the workplace. And so we teach a class on that once a month that I get to participate in as well. So super excited to have you along for the ride. I have been teaching this class now for I'd say probably the last year and a half or so. One of my favorite faculty that I don't know if you'll ever have a chance to learn from, he's no longer full-time in our department, Dr. Paul Cack, is really kind of the guru expert in this area, and I have learned a tremendous amount from him over the last many, many years, so I owe a debt of gratitude to him. So as you see this video, it's just me. I'm sitting here, actually I'm sitting in my kitchen. This is an online class. It's in addition to my normal everyday work, and so more often than not, when I do a video, which will be at least once a week, I will probably do them into the wee hours of the evening from my living room, my kitchen, much like I'm sure where you are participating and taking part in this class through the wee hours of the night and the evening, burning the midnight oil on both ends. And you are sitting in your kitchen or your living room doing your schoolwork after perhaps the kids are asleep, or you just got home from dinner with friends, or a full day of work, whatever the case may be. We are all busy people, and we have lots going on. So this is a class that there's a lot going on. I just say that this is a full course. There's a lot of reading. There's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of kind of just participating, a lot of undertaking, some viewing of videos, a lot of articles to be read. Really, what my hope would be, my prayer would be in this course is that you would walk away at the end of our 8 weeks together. And I'm going to tell you, maybe, perhaps, you're going to walk away and your head's going to be spinning a bit. Because everything, or maybe some things that you at one point thought about work, about vocation, about what my call in this world is, you might see them a bit differently now. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think, in fact, that's a good thing. One of my favorite quotes is from Alvin Toffler, who's a professor and an author and a futurist. And he says, the illiterate of the 21st century, I love this, will not be those who cannot read and write. No, he says, the illiterate of the 21st century will be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And so here we are in this course, and we're going to unpack what is vocation, and we're going to look at what does it mean to be called, and can you have a calling without a caller, or what role does faith play in one's vocation, and what is this idea of career development? How do they all relate? And so we're going to do a number of assignments that are going to relate to both topics. This is a class, and I'll contrast this to my graduate psychology course that I teach. This class, the main thrust, the crux of this course is, as the title would indicate, understanding vocation. Understanding vocation is so vital, especially when it comes to this idea of career development, when it comes to career coaching. So I'm a career coach. I've been doing that for almost a decade now, 8 years. I think I just celebrated 8 years or something like that last month. And in doing that, one of the things that I find happens so often is that individuals don't know who they are. It's not that they don't like their job. Perhaps the symptom of not knowing who they are or what they want is that they think they don't like their job. But there's so much more to not liking their job than simply not liking their job. And a lot of it relates to this idea of vocation, of calling, of understanding who we are, how we're wired, what we're called to do, and so forth. And these are kind of these big, ambiguous, sometimes fluffy, sometimes easy to misunderstand words that we talk about. We kind of throw them around, and they become, really, quite frankly, they become a little meaningless sometimes. And so in this class, we're going to unlearn some things. We're going to relearn some things. And we're going to look at career development within the context of vocation. Now, if I contrast that, as I mentioned, to my career class I teach for grad psych, we're looking at career development and we're looking at vocation and calling through the lens of career development. You see, the focus is just kind of flipped. But I can't, in good nature, teach either class. I can't teach the content in either class if I'm not teaching both perspectives. Because I think let me scratch that. I know you can't have one without the other. You can go through motions, but you're not going to get full understanding of who you are, what you're called to do, and so forth. And you can go through motions and try to think you do, but if you don't go through a career development process, then you're not actually going to walk through and kind of grow and develop as many of us can and really we should be doing in the workplace. And so there's a number of outcomes that we can get from a class like this. I think in large part, one of the things, if not many of the things that we will learn is self. We will learn about us. We'll learn about how all this content relates to us, to me, to you, and so forth, right? But as you probably heard, regardless of kind of where you are in the program, with the reality that we talk about quite often, whether this is your first class or your last class, or almost your last class, we talk about this reality that in order to lead other people, you must first lead yourself, right? So if I'm going to help other people understand their vocation, their calling, their identity from a vocational standpoint, right? This idea of vocational psychology that we'll look at throughout the semester. I really first have to make sure that I understand all of this myself. Because then it becomes, if we don't, a kind of a do as I say, not as I do type thing. Or you hear quite often, and this is such an unfortunate statement because I think sometimes there's lots of truth to it. The saying it would go that those who can't do, teach. And so you have these theoretical kind of brainiacs, these great researchers, the great academics who have spent their careers just teaching other people how to do certain things, but not actually having done them. And now, fortunately, in a leadership program, our department is riddled with people that have done, and out of their doing, they now are teaching. They're teaching leadership because they had been leaders, or they are currently leaders, right? So the same idea when it comes to vocation. If we're going to help other people understand their vocation, what that whole thing looks like, I think we first have to make sure that we understand it ourselves. So it's kind of a two-prong, if not multiple-prong reality of understanding self so that we can better help others to understand themselves. Hope that makes sense. So we're going to cover a lot, like I mentioned. There's a number of videos that you'll watch. There's a number of articles that you'll read. You're looking at, I think we have a total of 5 books on the whole. We're taking a number of assessments. Really what we're getting at is I want you, again, walking away, perhaps your brain spin a little bit, But I also want you to walk away feeling like, man, I now know something that I didn't know before. In fact, I want you to walk away thinking, I now know a number of things that I didn't know before. I'm thinking things. I'm thinking about my work differently. We'll look at Tim Keller. If you know who Tim Keller is, he's a pastor and just a ridiculous author. He writes multiple books per year. And then we'll look at an article that basically he says why we should stay in work that we hate, which that doesn't seem to mesh or make sense with where we are in the world today. And yet he makes a very compelling case for why that may be. And so again, this idea of unlearning what we've already learned and then relearning new things. I'm not just going to spin you off and let you figure it out. We're going to kind of do things together. Let me make mention of a couple other things. And I'm going to revisit some other videos with you this week. I'll go over the syllabus a little bit in a separate video. I never go over 15 minutes in a video because we've got short attention spans, and I know that if I do so, I'll lose you. But let me make mention of this. One of my biggest pet peeves, and I'm just going to be very upfront with you, okay? Biggest pet peeves is things that waste my time, right? So things that are just kind of foo-foo, kind of busy work. And so when I'm teaching, and I was actually walking tonight thinking about how long have I been teaching? I've been teaching since 2008, and one of the things that I've always done in my time teaching with the class is I've always made a commitment to never do busy work, because busy work, it doesn't do any good for anybody. Because the reality is, busy work for you creates busy work for me. And if I don't want to do busy work, why on earth would I ask you to do busy work? So I want you to realize up front, you're going to look at these weeks, and I'm going to go through kind of some understanding Sakai, and if you've never used this platform before, I'll help you with that. But I want you to realize that everything in each of these weeks, these 8 units in which we'll be spending the rest of our 2 months in, it's all for a purpose. There is no busy work. There's no there's no wasted anything. All the articles connect, all the videos connect, all the questions connect. I mean, and again, you're going to do a lot. There's this misperception or misconception that online work, especially when you hear elective and online, you think, oh, it's easy, it's a piece of work, a piece of cake, it's less work. No, I want to just go on the record and having said that this is a class, because of how much we are doing, will take a lot of your time. But the nature of what we're doing and the call on your life to really dig deep and investigate who you are and discern and ask questions, it will ask a lot of you. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm going to take an online class because it's less work, I'm sorry to say, if that's your approach, I don't know if this is the class for you. Because online does not make less work. It makes different types of work that you get to just do from the comfort of your home in your pajamas. Okay, so buckle up, get prepared for a lot of introspection, a lot of questions, a lot of dialogue back and forth. What I would encourage you to do is once the course is published, which it will be sometime Monday, okay, that's the first day of the term, look through the units, okay, just kind of peruse through them, poke around, click on things, click on the syllabus, you'll see that all the things that are required of you, and then make sure you have your books. So I sent an email I think last week and mentioned all the books that were required of this class. You can go on the bookstore website and you can find the course requirements. And one of the things I mentioned, because this class was initially going to be offered in the face-to-face, if you're looking for books, go in and search under Azusa Spring 1, Azusa Campus Spring 1, LDRS520, and you'll find the books that are required for both that class, which was to be offered and was canceled because of numbers, and this class as well. Okay, and if you have any questions, I respond very quickly. Typically I like to say that I respond within 24 to 48 hours. But if I'm sitting in front of my computer and I'm on email, then I will try and respond even sooner. Okay, so we're gonna have a great term together. I'm very accessible. I do all that I can to make sure that you are supported and you are encouraged throughout the time. One of the things that I always have to push back on a little bit, people say, oh yeah, that program or that class, that was easy. And I ask the question, well, what do you mean by easy? Do you mean easy because it was effortless, because it was enjoyable, like you really enjoyed the books, you enjoyed the class, or you didn't do any work? In this class, we're not going to not do any work, but we are going to do things that are enjoyable. So I hope that you are looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to getting to know you better and journeying with you on this learning process. Let's have a great term. Welcome to Spring 1, LDRS 520. We'll see you online.